Meet Mr. Im, a man born blind but blessed with incredibly skillful hands. This has made him a master craftsman, considered a national treasure of South Korea. His spirit of overcoming adversity is truly inspiring. A TV director approaches him with the idea of filming a documentary about Mr. Im's life. In front of the camera, Mr. Im always tries to say flowery words, and his son, Dong-hwan, eagerly cooperates. However, after the film crew leaves, Mr. Im complains that the reporter is too nosy. Dong-hwan explains that, to increase viewership, directors often exploit engaging topics, which is quite normal. He also adds that thanks to this documentary, people will finally know about a master craftsman like him. While the two are talking, Dong-hwan unexpectedly receives a phone call from the police station. They inform him that a woman named Young-hee wants to meet him. However, Dong-hwan doesn't know anyone by that name at all. The police officer is incredibly surprised and asks, "Don't you even know your own mother's name?" Dong-hwan is stunned, and then he rushes to the police station. Here, the police show him a set of skeletal remains. The police say that inside the pocket of the skeletal remains was an ID card with the name Young-hee. The reason the skeletal remains were found is that a construction crew was building an apartment complex in the mountains and accidentally dug them up. Forensic analysis has determined that the victim died 40 years ago. Because so much time has passed, it's currently impossible to determine the cause of death. However, based on the way the remains were buried, the police believe that it's unlikely that Young-hee died in an accident. This means that it's highly likely that she was murdered. It's just that because so many years have passed, even if they find the perpetrator, the statute of limitations has expired. Dong-hwan can't accept this truth. He's been relying on his father since he was little, and now, suddenly, a mother appears who was murdered. Most importantly, Mr. Im has always told Dong-hwan that his mother left without a word and abandoned the two of them. Now, it seems there has been a huge misunderstanding. Mr. Im is filled with regret, believing that he has wrongly blamed his wife. In memory of Young-hee, she was a very gentle and kind woman. Right at this moment, the female director, Soo-jin, arrives to prepare for filming. Dong-hwan intends to ask her to temporarily stop filming, but Soo-jin says that it can't be delayed any longer. Moreover, she says that this unexpected twist will make the documentary more authentic and natural. While Dong-hwan is still trying to persuade her, two strange women suddenly appear. He confusedly approaches them to ask who they are, and they say that they are Young-hee's sisters, which means they are Dong-hwan's aunts. With them are their children. Dong-hwan is very embarrassed by the appearance of these unfamiliar relatives. At this time, the aunt's son speaks up, saying that their grandfather left Young-hee a portion of his inheritance before he passed away. Everyone has no intention of taking it, but because Mr. Im and they had a very bitter conflict in the past, no one mentioned it. Now that the misunderstanding has been resolved, they believe that the inheritance should be given back to Dong-hwan. However, Dong-hwan says that talking about money now feels very cold-hearted. Hearing him say he doesn't need it, his cousin quickly laughs and tells him to record it as proof. Dong-hwan says that he doesn't want to deal with these things now. He will write a commitment later and get it notarized. Rest assured on this point. However, he only has one request, and that is if the aunts have any pictures of his mother, could they give him one to use as a memorial photo? However, the aunts say that they don't have any. Because Young-hee was very ugly, she didn't like taking pictures anyway. These words are truly confusing and strange. Moreover, the aunts also say that Young-hee left home when she was very young and never returned. So the sisterly bond between them wasn't very deep either. Mr. Im wants to know the reason, and the aunt begins to explain. The aunt explains that it was because Young-hee kept spreading rumors throughout the village that she had seen her own father cheating. Their mother, after finding out, was extremely angry and beat Young-hee within an inch of her life. Young-hee had to rest for several days to recover. After that, she took all of her mother's old things and quietly left, just like a thief. Dong-hwan is stunned after listening. Normally, when a woman finds out that her husband is cheating, she should go and question the husband and the other woman, right? Why would she attack her own daughter? The aunt vehemently rebuts, cursing Young-hee as ugly, as a jinx. The whole family was at peace, but she just made up things to ruin this family. Who else should she beat if not her? Dong-hwan is truly angered to the point of laughing at these relatives. Late at night, Dong-hwan goes outside the funeral home to smoke, and he accidentally overhears the female director, Soo-jin, trying to exploit his mother's story to use as a plot point in the film. Dong-hwan's heart is heavy. He feels that in this world, it seems like his mother's passing truly saddens no one. The next day, the family performs a ritual to send off the remains. The aunt is nauseous as soon as she smells the stench, and she loudly urges Mr. Im to say a few words quickly and end it. After speaking, she shows a disgusted expression and leaves first. The forensic officer says helplessly that he had to put a lot of effort into piecing together the skeleton. But the aunt doesn't seem to care, thinking that they're going to cremate it into ashes anyway, so there's no need to piece it back together. After the ritual ends, everyone leaves. Dong Hwan is also preparing to leave when he suddenly receives a phone call from Su Jin. She says that further investigation has revealed that his mother used to work at a sewing factory, and the area near the sewing factory is where the skeletal remains were dug up. If he wants to investigate further, perhaps that place is the clue to finding out the truth. Dong Hwan is truly very curious. What kind of person was his mother really? His father clearly said she was very kind, but he resented her for so many years. And the aunts, clearly blood relatives, but all they say are curses. Someone even murdered her. Could the sewing factory answer these mysteries? The next day, Dong Hwan goes to meet Su Jin. He sees her secretly stuffing a camera into her bag, but he doesn't say anything. After that, the two find the former workers of the sewing factory, those who used to know his mother, to ask if they know anything. The former workers all say that Young Hee was ugly. Only Mr. Im, who was blind, would be willing to be close to her. Su Jin wants to know more details, and the former workers don't hide anything. They say that 40 years ago, the country's economy was developing rapidly, the sewing factory was busy day and night, and they were constantly hiring more workers. However, there was only one toilet for so many people. Anyone who wanted to go had to line up. One day, Young Hee had a painful stomachache, so she asked the team leader to let her go to the toilet. The team leader said with a disgusted expression, "We're busy to death right now, what do you mean toilet?" Young Hee explained that she really couldn't hold it in anymore and promised to be back in 1 minute. However, she couldn't go within the allotted time, so she stupidly went back to work. In the end, she couldn't hold back and urinated in her pants. Being ugly and making such an embarrassing mistake, she immediately becomes a laughing stock for the entire sewing factory. Even after 40 years, every time they mention this, the former workers still laugh mercilessly at Young Hee. Su Jin then asks if anyone hated Young Hee. The former workers probably think not. Although Young Hee was foolish and ugly, she was very kind. Later, she married Mr. Im. Normally, she could have lived a happy life. So why did she die so suddenly? At this time, an old man thinks for a long time, and then suddenly remembers that Young Hee and the owner of the sewing factory seem to have something going on. Hearing this, Su Jin is immediately interested. However, the three former workers are hesitant and don't want to talk about it. Even so, they provided the name of another person. This isn't difficult for Su Jin. She immediately contacts her team to find the person and tells Dong Hwan to wait for good news. Dong Hwan offers to investigate himself, but Su Jin says that with her help, things will be much more effective. With that, she drives away. The next day, Su Jin and Dong Hwan go to the house of another former worker, Uncle Jin. When he finds out that they have come because of Young Hee, Uncle Jin hesitates for a long time and finally decides to tell the truth about the past. He says that Young Hee was a very good person. Back then, he was young and naive, often ordering her around, but Young Hee never complained. One time, late at night, she saw him sitting alone in the sewing factory crying, and she took the initiative to comfort him. At that time, Uncle Jin told her what had happened. The truth is, Uncle Jin was sexually assaulted by the owner of the sewing factory. He didn't dare to report it because the owner controlled everyone's salaries and bonuses, and the other workers were all loyal to him. If Uncle Jin went against the owner, it would mean going against all the workers in the factory. However, only Young Hee wasn't afraid at all. When she heard that Uncle Jin was about to be fired, she didn't hesitate to rush into the owner's office to demand justice for him. However, the owner still didn't care about her. After being rudely slammed in the face by the door, she returned home and took out paper and pen and started writing frantically. Mr. Im asked his wife what she was doing, but Young Hee didn't answer a single word. The next day, the owner acted like nothing had happened and even planned to find a young girl to take pictures. Unexpectedly, that girl ran faster than a rabbit. The owner thought that the young girl was too shy, so he smiled gleefully. But as he was smiling, he suddenly realized something was wrong. Looking down following the gaze of an employee, he discovered that the floor was covered with words accusing him of being a demon. Realizing that this was Young Hee's doing, the owner angrily called his henchman into the office and scolded him, questioning why he still kept Young Hee around. Hearing this, the henchman didn't dare to hesitate and quickly went to find Young Hee with an aggressive attitude to settle the score. She didn't accept it, saying that it was all the owner's fault. Why did he fire her? As she was speaking, she intended to rush in to find the owner to get things cleared up. However, she was slapped hard across the face by Uncle Jin himself, because Uncle Jin didn't want this to be blown out of proportion. However, even though Young Hee didn't say the name directly, everyone guessed it as soon as they heard it. Now, Uncle Gene has not only lost his job, but his reputation has also been completely ruined. He feels that he is truly innocent. But now, whenever he remembers it, Uncle Gene always feels extremely guilty towards Young Hee. Her original purpose was to help him demand justice and prevent others from continuing to be harmed. After all, looking at the root of the problem, it's all the owner's fault. After hearing the story, Soo-jin couldn't hold back her tears. She wants to go find that evil ringleader to settle the score, because she thinks that it's very likely that Young Hee was murdered by that owner. Dong-hwan looks at Soo-jin, suddenly bursting with righteousness, and then glances meaningfully at the camera hidden in her bag, but he doesn't say anything. The two arrive at the house of the sewing factory owner. What no one expected was that the once well-off and flamboyant owner had now become haggard, thin, and had trouble breathing after saying a few words. Soo-jin quickly introduces herself, and Dong-hwan fixes his eyes on the wall full of pictures next to him. These pictures have extremely sensitive content, proving that this scum has indeed done many things that are even worse than an animal. To get this scum to cooperate, Soo-jin pulls out a bill. His eyes immediately light up. He says that he really does remember that ugly little girl, Young Hee. That kid was not only ugly but also extremely hateful. Seeing this, Soo-jin seizes the opportunity and asks him to recount the entire event of 40 years ago. She also adds that even if he tells it now, he won't be punished, because the statute of limitations has passed long ago anyway. She implies that she wants him to admit to murdering Young Hee. Unexpectedly, the owner says, "It was that blind old man who killed Young Hee. Didn't the police arrest him?" Dong-hwan is extremely surprised to hear this. The scene shifts to 40 years ago. At that time, just to have fun, the owner invited Mr. Im to a party. When he saw that he had actually come, the owner introduced him to everyone, saying that his seal carving skills were excellent, and insisted that Mr. Im show off his skills on the spot. He said that in doing so, the big bosses here would definitely patronize his business. Mr. Im didn't refuse and took out his tools, then used his hands to feel and complete the seal carving. When they saw that the seal was carved perfectly and accurately, everyone was amazed by this blind man. They really liked the special performance, so they drank and chatted happily with Mr. Im until late at night. When the others were all drunk and asleep, the owner mentioned the fact that Young Hee had opposed him, asking if Mr. Im had participated in that. Hearing this, Mr. Im's face changed, and he quickly knelt down, saying that he was loyal to the owner and was always grateful to the owner for allowing him to open a shop right in front of the gate of the sewing factory. But the owner still had anger in his heart. The humiliation that Young Hee had caused him, he had to vent it all on Mr. Im. He cursed both Mr. Im and Young Hee as trash. If he wanted to kill the two of them, it would be easier than killing an ant. Mr. Im hurriedly nodded in agreement, smiling obsequiously, looking extremely despicable. Unexpectedly, he was that kind of person. After leaving the party, perhaps because he remembered what had just happened, Mr. Im's expression was extremely complicated. After that, he returned home and asked his wife why she was meddling in other people's affairs. She didn't say anything, only continued to write words accusing the owner of his evil deeds. After that, the owner found out about this and was extremely angry, so he ordered his henchmen to immediately fire Young Hee. But that wasn't enough to quell his anger. So, the owner called someone. In the middle of the night, Mr. Im received an order to take his wife and child to the mountain behind. He didn't know what was about to happen, but he still obeyed. When they arrived, they were suddenly surrounded by a group of people. Young Hee then questioned if they were the owner's people. They tacitly admitted it and then knocked Young Hee to the ground and brutally trampled on her. Seeing this, Mr. Im shouted, telling them to stop. He also tried to rush up to stop them, but because he was holding his young child in his arms, he only dared to stop them half-heartedly. Waiting until the group of people that the owner called had gotten tired of beating her and left, Mr. Im frantically ran over to check on his wife's condition, then hugged her and cried silently. A few days later, when her wounds had almost healed, she disregarded his objections and stormed straight into the owner's office, pinned him down on the sofa, and beat him madly, questioning why he treated her that way. The workers in the factory saw this and quickly pulled her out. The owner, after being rescued, was still scared, panting, and not understanding why Young Hee was so stubborn. He didn't believe that he could control a woman, so he contacted the same group of people as before, ordering them to be more brutal this time, preferably making Young Hee bedridden for 10 days or half a month. These thugs had no intention of killing anyone. But Mr. Im, perhaps because he had endured enough ridicule and humiliation, developed the idea of killing his own wife. He drugged Young Hee with sleeping pills, then carried her up the mountain, and then, without hesitation, threw her off the cliff. This action shocked the group of people that the owner had hired. They also couldn't believe that Mr. Im was the real villain. But the problem was Mr. Im didn't handle the body at all. They had to help him clean up and buried the body on the spot. Recalling these events, the owner of 40 years later was extremely agitated, even complaining that the thugs buried the body too deep, making it so that there was no trace of the old blind man's murder. Hearing this version of the story, Dong Huan completely collapsed. He angrily rushed up and questioned the owner why he was lying. "You ordered my mother to be killed. Why do you want to blame others?" With that, he rushed over to strangle the owner. Su Jin, afraid that a murder would occur, quickly stopped him. Seeing this, Dong Huan decided to reveal his hand. He snatched Su Jin's bag, pulled out the camera, then took it and left. The scene shifts again. Mr. Im returns home. As soon as he steps through the door, he senses his son's presence. He asks, "Why didn't you let me know you were coming?" Dong Huan doesn't say much. He says directly, "Today I met the owner of the sewing factory." Hearing this, Mr. Im silently sits down. Dong Huan's heart stops beating. He looks at his father with an incredulous expression and asks, "Why did you do that?" Mr. Im recounts that his childhood was too difficult. Since he became conscious, all that surrounded him were words of ridicule and scolding. People thought that a blind man wasn't worthy of learning the craft of seal carving. There were even people who regularly used him as a punching bag to vent their anger. But Mr. Im never knew who hit him. After many years of hard work, he finally got his own small stall outside the sewing factory. He once thought that his life had finally improved. Unexpectedly, no one visited his stall. Just when he felt helpless and lost, Young Hee appeared. She praised the seals he carved were really beautiful. Because she was the first customer, Mr. Im gave her a seal for free. From then on, every time she passed by the stall, Young Hee would smile and greet Mr. Im. Seeing him eating lunch, she would take the initiative to bring him food. In Mr. Im's whole life, this was the first time someone had treated him so well. He felt like he had learned to love. After Young Hee shyly left, the stall owner next door, wanting to tease him, deliberately joked that Mr. Im was so lucky, unexpectedly winning the affection of an absolute beauty like Young Hee, and urged him to quickly seize the opportunity and confess his love. Hearing these words, Mr. Im felt incredibly encouraged. He truly mustered up the courage to confess his love. After that, under everyone's witness, the two held a simple wedding rite in front of the stall. The owner even took a wedding photo for them. At that time, Mr. Im had made up his mind to let Young Hee live a prosperous life. The ideal was beautiful, but the reality was harsh. Their life was still as difficult as before, having to work hard day and night to earn every penny. Later, Dong Huan was born. Young Hee not only had to work at the factory, but during breaks, she had to run out of the factory to breastfeed her child. It seemed that her work was even more than before. Mr. Im felt extremely guilty. Then one day, a close friend of Mr. Im came to visit, and for some reason suddenly asked about Young Hee's character. Mr. Im honestly replied that she was very good, both gentle, kind, and thoughtful. It's just a pity that he couldn't see her appearance. The friend suddenly said something difficult to understand. Mr. Im confusedly asked again what was going on. It wasn't until this time that he learned that Young Hee was actually a very ugly woman, and he had been kept from the truth for so long. He thought that after getting married, he had finally escaped the ridicule. Unexpectedly, things were still no different from before. People kept pushing him and Young Hee together, just to watch a bigger joke. Mr. Im felt like his whole world had collapsed. He couldn't understand why the people around him were so malicious towards him. And even his wife, whom he shared a bed with, had deceived him. Even after 40 years, he still felt extremely resentful of his fate. Dong Huan finally couldn't bear it anymore and screamed. Mr. Im said sternly that when he found out the truth, he only had one thought in his mind, that he had to quickly escape from Young Hee, to escape the ridicule and contempt that she had brought into his life. At first, he only thought about how to make her leave. Until the night he was humiliated by the owner, Mr. Im's resentment towards Young Hee reached its peak. When Young Hee was brutally beaten, he prayed countless times for her to die, but the result was not as he wished. Later, when her wounds healed, Young Hee even went to cause trouble with the owner. Mr. Im got loud with Young Hee because of this. She felt extremely wronged. Since she was little, she had been bullied for being ugly, and no one believed what she said. It was Mr. Im who changed her. Now all the truth has been revealed. Dong Huan looks at the father he has lived with for more than 20 years, feeling extremely distant. But Mr. Im didn't think so, even thinking that Dong Huan should thank him. If it weren't for him, Dong Huan would have had to live in ridicule since he was little for having an ugly mother. Dong Huan wasn't swayed by those words of his. He said sternly that his father was a murderer. Mr. Im angrily stood up, but was pushed to the ground. Mr. Im roared, saying that the statute of limitations had passed long ago, And he didn't do anything wrong. He was just working hard for the life he wanted. And now, he finally did it. The next day, Donghwan meets Sujin at a coffee shop, and he hopes she can help make public what was recorded. Sujin asks, "Do you really want to do that? If Mr. Im, a person who is generally respected, is exposed as a murderer, then this will more or less affect you." Donghwan replied that he had deleted all unnecessary content. Sujin is stunned. Donghwan thought that, although Mr. Im was evil, he was still a miracle of Korea, like father, like son. Sujin saw through the fake face of the man before her. She said that yesterday she talked to the sewing factory owner again. When asked why he didn't take pictures of Young Hee, he replied that before starting work, every worker had to fill out an information sheet, and the pictures on those were all taken by him. When it was Young Hee's turn, he specifically told her to tuck the messy hair behind her ears. Speaking to this point, Sujin placed a photo down in front of Donghwan. She said she doesn't know if he's still interested, but these things don't matter anymore. Waiting until Sujin leaves, Donghwan picks up his mother's picture. When he sees that Mrs. Young, he is just a woman with a very ordinary appearance. He can't hold back anymore and bursts into tears. Turns out that Young Hee wasn't ugly at all. It was just that she was too upright and unsociable, so she had to endure the prejudice and malicious slander of everyone. The movie ends here. This work only cost $160,000 to produce, but it deeply explored the complexities of human nature. When the skeletal remains were found, everyone insisted that Young Hee was very ugly. First, I really believed that as well. Only until the end did I understand that it was the people around her who labeled her with that. After many years, they had even forgotten what her real face looked like. Young Hee clearly and bravely pointed out her father's mistakes, but was unreasonably blamed by her own family. She stood up to help the female worker who was sexually assaulted, and as a result, blocked everyone's path to wealth and was bullied by everyone. Even the husband who shared the same bed, after hearing the words of his worker friend, also sided with the opposition. And such a kind person had to receive such a tragic ending. Those who have passed away cannot return, and don't even have a chance to be exonerated. And the person who committed the crime doesn't repent at all. It's really too suffocating and frustrating. Well, my film summary for today ends here. If you like this summary, please subscribe to my channel. Your support is my greatest motivation. See you in the next videos.